This unofficial Kevin Costner movie trilogy is a perfect way to complete your summer binge. Summer may be reaching its end, but it's not too late to commemorate this blistering hot season with a great sports flick. And while there are a plethora of terrific films depicting each sport, none fit the season better than that of the great American pastime of baseball. From Penny Marshall's iconic A League of Their Own, to the Robert Redford starring The Natural, to silly family films like Rookie of the Year or Angels in the Outfield, there are countless great baseball movies to choose from, even for those who aren't as compelled by sports as myself. There's just something so irresistible about a story of somebody overcoming adversity through a game about hitting a ball with a stick. With that being said, nobody has a slate of baseball flicks quite like Hollywood legend and Oscar winner Kevin Costner, who starred in 3 of the best baseball movies you can find on streaming or otherwise. Costner has made his mark throughout the entire sports genre throughout his storied career, even beyond his unofficial baseball trilogy, also starring in films such as Draft Day, Football, Tin Cup, Golf, and McFarland, USA, Track. It's clear that Costner has a particular passion for sports, and that love is most prominent in his 3 major baseball films, all of which are now streaming on Peacock. Bull Durham is a funny and honest depiction of the minor leagues. Released in 1988, Kevin Costner starred in Bull Durham opposite Oscar winners Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins. The film follows veteran catcher Crash Davis, Costner, who plays for the minor league Durham Bulls, and is selected to guide their latest pitching prospect, Ebby Calvin Nuke Lelouch Robbins, to a potential place in the show Baseball Speak for the Major Leagues. All the while, the veteran and rookie's already contentious relationship is further complicated by the arrival of Annie Savoy, Sarandon, a baseball groupie who has a sight set on the 2 men. The best aspect of Kevin Costner's 3 baseball films is that each brings something wholly unique to the table. In the case of Bull Durham, the film is both a great mixture of rom-com, drama, and straight-up comedy, as it realistically depicts the struggles of minor league players and the constant longing for a dream that is out of reach, as is seen through Costner's Crash Davis. Bull Durham features one of Costner's best performances, playing Davis as a master of his craft who's nearing retirement, grappling with the reality that he'll never reach the major leagues while assisting Robbins Lelouch to reach that very same milestone. The complex dynamic between Davis and Lelouch is where the film is at its best, as Crash's envy and respect for the hotshot pitcher conflict with one another throughout the film. Bull Durham is also a great rom-com. Susan Sarandon really shines as Annie, having great chemistry with both Costner and Robbins and providing the majority of a movie's biggest laughs. She brings a warmth and charm to the proceedings that is unmatched by the remainder of the supporting cast, and a blossoming romance with Costner is a delight to watch. Bull Durham is all around one of the finest baseball films you can watch, and a must-see for any fan of the sports genre as a whole. Field of Dreams is one of the best movies of Costner's career. While it can be reasonably argued that Bull Durham is a better film when it comes to its depiction of baseball, 1989's Field of Dreams just might be the best of Costner's trio of baseball films. This heartfelt drama sees Costner stepping into the role of Ray Kinsella, an Iowa-based farmer who receives a divine message to turn a large portion of his cornfield into a baseball diamond, inviting the presence of the deceased Black Sox team, the players involved in the infamous 1919 World Series scandal, including Shoeless Joe Jackson, Ray Liotta, Eddie Saccott, Steve Easton, and Buck Weaver Michael Milhoen. Field of Dreams combines fantasy and tender drama to beautiful effect, telling an emotionally rich and uplifting story that is among the best that the sports genre has to offer. Costner's Ray Kinsella is such an endearing protagonist, resisting the dissuasion of naysayers who condemn his divine quest and overcoming insurmountable odds to serve a larger purpose. The way that Field of Dreams uses baseball and its rich history to connect its multiple generations of living and dead characters is poignant, culminating in one of the best monologues in cinema, delivered by the late, great James Earl Jones in a career-best performance as former civil rights activist Terrence Mann. Not to go unmentioned is Amy Madigan as Ray's loving wife, Annie. Madigan is a sensation here, stealing the show in one of the film's best scenes where she, in her own words, halted the spread of neo-fascism in America. Burt Lancaster also shines in his last film role, being given one of the film's most emotionally resonant moments. Field of Dreams is one of the most unabashedly sincere films to ever be derived from Hollywood. Some may call it schmaltzy, and they wouldn't be entirely wrong in that assessment, but there's something so captivating about Phil Alden Robinson's film that makes even the cheesier moments hit on a deep level that few other films can, especially within this genre. Whether you're a fan of baseball or simply a fan of movies, Field of Dreams is an absolute must-see and a personal favorite of mine. For Love of the Game is a schmaltzy but enjoyable romantic drama. Admittedly, the weakest of Costner's trio of baseball films, Sam Raimi's For Love of the Game is still a pretty enjoyable romance in its own right, touching on similar themes to those of Bull Durham, particularly aging and facing the end of a long career, going even further with these concepts in some respects. In the film, Costner plays Billy Chappell, a legendary pitcher for the Detroit Tigers who is having a hard time coming to terms with the fast-approaching end of his baseball career when he meets Jane Aubrey Kelly Preston, a woman who may just give him something to live for beyond the game he loves. Making its debut in 1999, For Love of the Game wasn't exactly a major hit with critics' audiences, with Costner even receiving a Razzie nomination for his performance. And while it's true that it pales in comparison to Costner's aforementioned baseball films, it still makes for a solid effort despite its obvious shortcomings. Costner rarely ever misses, and is reliably great here, certainly not deserving of his Razzie nomination, and he has decent chemistry with Preston. The two make for a likable on-screen pairing, and you are rooting for them despite the film's overly sentimental script and cheesy score. As for the supporting cast, For Love of the Game features a terrific ensemble. Jana Malone is a standout in one of her earlier supporting roles, and both John C. Reilly and J.K. Simmons turn in memorable supporting work, especially in the baseball sequences, which are a lot of fun in their own right. For Love of the Game certainly has its fair share of flaws. The film is far too long at 138 minutes. The script is full of cliches and cheesy dialogue, and the schmaltzy tone does work against it, unlike in Field of Dreams. The romance mostly works quite well, but isn't always the best written, relying on the charm of Costner and Preston to carry the film. Despite that, this is still a worthwhile baseball film that doubles as a decent romantic drama. It feels distinct when